What is up? JT here with a fragrance review that has absolutely grilled my nuggets over the past 2 weeks. Now, why? Because I've heard people say that this is a cheap fragrance. That sounds like BS. Why? Because if a fragrance smells good and it costs cheap to make, then that's a win. Just because it is cheap, as in what they use to make it is cheap, and that's why they don't want you to wear it or want to sell it to you, then that's complete and utter BS. Because I haven't met a single woman, haven't met a single dude that has hated this fragrance. And although there might be some that might react bad, 95% of them will be like, that's a decent fragrance. So I'm here to say you should get Paco Rabanne Invictus. Okay, and here's what it smells like. Okay, it smells like a kid stuffed a bunch of Jolly Ranchers in his mouth and he just put a whole breath on you. But it's a kid who just brushed his teeth also. So it's a little minty. So overall, it's good. This fragrance has blown me away. When I got this, I honestly was a bit skeptical, but then I wore it. And actually, this is the fragrance that made me realize that women react so much better to fresh fragrances. And it just happened to be that fresh fragrances are somewhat cheaper. Paco Rabanne Invictus is $50 for a super mass appealing, not just mass appealing. Paco Rabanne Invictus is super mass appealing. I have got a compliment 1 out of 3 times I wear this, and I hardly go place. You can't go wrong with Paco Rabanne Invictus. Now, specifically what grills my nuggets is I saw a video of a woman, not gonna name names, but she does reviews, and she does reviews on all these expensive fragrances, Urzoff or whatever it is. I might get into that line, but besides the point, she reviews all these fragrances. They're all niche, they're all expensive, and she has this particular opinion about Paco Rabanne in general being cheap. She says it smells cheap, she doesn't like it. That doesn't make sense. Nobody's gonna sit there and smell your arm where you sprayed for a continuous 2 minutes and start picking apart why it doesn't smell good. Nobody's gonna do that. Now, I'm talking to you specifically and giving you the situation that people are going to pass by you and smell you. Every time I smell this fragrance, I want to wear it. That's how good it is. Over the 30 fragrances I do have that are niche, whatever, I still want to wear this on like an every other day basis. It's so good. It's sweet enough to be candy, but citrus enough to be refreshing. It's just so good. You can't go wrong with this, and like I said, shivers my tenders whenever people say that this fragrance is something you shouldn't get because it is cheap. I hate when people say that, because so what if it's cheap? If it smells good and it costs you less, get it. You will get compliments left and right. This will be probably your go-to fragrance with how it has gone with me. This will probably happen to you. You'll smell this, you'll be like, eh. But then you'll learn that women react better to freshies, and you'll love it even more. So it's just crazy when people say that you shouldn't get it because it's cheap. Let me tell you this. I went into the store and I was asking, I was either gonna buy 2 colognes or I was gonna buy 1 cologne. So for the salesman, it didn't matter because I was gonna buy 2 cheap ones or 1 expensive one. And like I said, it didn't matter. So I went in, I'm walking through Dillard's, and I go, and I start smelling stuff, and this guy comes up and he says, "Can I help you with anything?" He starts helping me. I start smelling. And then we get to the Paco Rabanne line, right? And I'm like, oh, what's Paco Rabanne? I'll start smelling that. And he said, oh, you don't want that. That smells super cheap. And I was like, oh, okay. 2 weeks later, I ended up getting Paco Rabanne Invictus because it smelled absolutely amazing. Whenever people tell you not to get something, don't believe them, because they're probably watching fragrance reviewers and they've already developed an opinion about buying expensive fragrances because people don't have them. I'm here to tell you that there's nothing wrong with buying a cheap fragrance, especially not one that people hate on so much. You're going to be an outlier in a room filled with niche fragrances that smell like complete butt cheek. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the fragrance. This will last me about 6 hours on clothes like this. It's thin, and if I spray it 8 to 10 times, it's going to last me about 6 hours. 6 hours max, honestly. On skin, it'll last me probably about 4, which doesn't make sense to some people, but my skin just sheds fragrances like crazy. So it's going to last longer on my clothes than skin. So yeah, Longevity is good for an EDT. Like I said, this is $50. You can't go wrong with it. This isn't a situation where I'm overhyping a fragrance like Club de Nuit Intense, man, where it's something you can't really smell just going to a store. You can go to a store and you can smell this. Smell this first, though. Smell this first. Because when you go in, you smell fragrances, you start to think that other fragrances aren't good just because you smell one, because your nose just, like, I don't know, adapted to it. But guys, get this fragrance. It's good. It's a freshie. Everybody hates it. Everybody in the fragrance industry hates it. And everybody outside the fragrance industry loves it. So you're going to get good compliments from everybody. And even the people that are in the fragrance industry that smell you, they'll like it because they won't even recognize what it is. So get this fragrance. Don't listen to the fragrance reviewers that are trying to push niche fragrances just to get the money out of you. It doesn't make sense. This is a good fragrance. Make it your signature fragrance. It's a freshie. It's good for the gym. It's good for church. You can wear a suit with it. It's good all around. So with that being said, that is JT out with the fragrance review that I love. Peace.